We'd like to start out by thanking our valuable sponsors. Sense of Satisfaction by Cricket is the place for all your fragrance needs. Plus, she's got products to heal what ails your skin and your hair. Shop at scentsbycricket.com. Special thanks to our valued sponsor, John Travis, a financial coach and certified Kingdom advisor with Richard Young Associates, a registered investment advisor. Thanks goes to Anna Patterson, my sister in the Lord who faithfully gives to this ministry every month. And to our newest sponsor, LaToya Gerard of Preach the Word Worldwide Network. She is a valued sponsor and a major encourager regarding this ministry. We need and would love to have you as a sponsor. Absolutely no gift is too small. Please note the info regarding giving throughout and at the end of the show, and help us spread these testimonies around the world. Please note that the views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily the viewpoints of our sponsors. It's time to hear the story, make the connection, learn the lesson, and gain the wisdom. Are you ready? Let's get charged and be changed. The Sister Speak Brother Break Show. Conversations on grace, healing, and deliverance. This is Marcy Bush. Come on, let's journey together.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it is an adequate description, I guess, but when you were talking just now about, how your brother was gone, how your classmates were kind of gone, you weren't with them. It reminded me of, again, looking at it through a younger person's eyes, it reminded me of how the Lord showed me, because I realized I was grown. I was probably late 30s, early 40s. And I realized there was this feeling of abandonment that I would get sometimes. And I didn't realize it was abandonment until I kept saying, what is this feeling?
Yeah.
What is this? And it was like, there was a new friend, which later the Lord was like, that wasn't your friend, that was your assignment. But there was a new friend that I had. And we had just been sharing, talking, and I remember speaking with him, and it was strictly platonic, but I remember speaking with him even about, some of my younger days, and just saying how, when things don't happen sometimes, or like sometimes I don't want to connect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to feel that, but I didn't know what that was. And so I kind of started praying about it, because I was like, I didn't even realize this was an issue. And so I started praying about it. And I said, I would feel like if something's supposed to go through, and if we're supposed to go through with something and it falls through, I feel like I would see myself like when they have the picture of the little boy sitting on the stoop, waiting on his dad to come pick him up for the weekend, and he never shows. I would feel like that. And I was like, what is that? I grew up the youngest of 9 kids, mom and dad in the home. So what's that? And I really started seeking God about, what is this feeling? How in the world would I feel abandoned? And so one day, the Lord told me, he said, in my quiet time that morning, he was like, whatever comes up today, whatever memories come up, don't dismiss it. Sit in it. Like, don't dismiss it. Sit in it for a minute. And at some point during that day, I had this feeling of abandonment. I'm like, what is this though? Where did it come from? And the Holy Spirit showed me that as a kid, because I was the youngest of 9, as I saw my sisters and brothers getting married and leaving the home, it actually created this feeling of abandonment in me. as an adult, that's what's normal. That's what people do.
Yeah.
As a child, everybody's leaving me.
Yeah.
And so I know it was a long road to say that as you were talking, that's what it felt like to me, that
Mm-hmm.
there was this abandonment as my brother left me.
Yeah.
As my friends are, even though we're in the same school, even though they left me
Mm-hmm.
and I'm back here by myself. And so that abandonment feeling then sometimes leads to isolation, or it sometimes leads to, okay, well, I'm gonna be the life of the party then. It's like that abandonment piece has these other things that then come out from it.
Yeah. Because then I started looking for attention. Then I started doing things for attention. I started trying to. It ended up to eventually my dad pulled me out and sent me to the same community college that my brother was going to.
Okay.
So, but after he pulled me out, there was a gap between the time I started to the time I got pulled out of school. There was, I want to say, maybe about 4 or 5 months that I was home, and my dad was like, "You're not just gonna be homing, you know, you're gonna do some work."
Right.
And every morning I would get up, and they had this huge yard, and my mom, I mean, she wanted to clear off some of the wooded area because that's where all the trees and shade was at. So I had to do all that. I was cleaning out the woods, and then they had me put up lattice all throughout the backyard. And I had to dig holes and holes and holes and put up the lattice. Then after I did that, they came up with the bright idea to paint the lattice all white. So I was worked, I wasn't just sitting home. I was doing a lot of work. At the same time, I had to keep the grass mowed from the backyard and the front yard. And then I can knock off around 4 or 5 o'clock, So he made it like, this is the real world at home,
Right.
You're gonna wake up, get a little something to eat. If you don't, I don't care. You just start working at 9.
Right.
I said, sure. And I learned the first couple of days I need to get something to eat.
Okay. Yes. Sir.
Before I get out there in the sun.
Uh-huh.
But he eventually sent me, once that semester started, I started going back to the community college, going to the community college where my brother was at, and I felt comfortable. That's why I was back with my best friend, and we got involved with a little bit, a little bit of stuff. But at the time, I believe once my brother seen me come there, and that helped him out too.
Okay.
And I was moving fast. I actually started moving faster through the program than he was, even though he hadn't been there about a year. To the point where I graduated with my GED before he did.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I got the luxury of going to Atlanta before he did to stay with my sister.
Okay.
But he was still in community college. But I think that helped him out to get his GED also, because he showed up on the same thing he was doing in high school, got with the wrong group, and then it was double trouble.
Gotcha.
So once I got back with him, I got back in my comfort zone, and then got to later on to say, my brother's here in Columbia with me now.
Okay.
That's another story.
Inseparable, huh?
Yeah.
You always come back together, I guess.
Yeah. I joined the Army. And guess who joined the Army? My brother.
Wow.
I go to Iraq. Well, he went to Iraq first. Guess who went after him? I did. And then we point where we was kind of flip-flopping, but there was one point where we was both in Iraq at the same time. Yeah, we saw each other in Iraq.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, that's my brother. What can I say?
Yeah.
Don't follow each other.
Yes. So when you went in the Army, so now was that you said that was your choice or that was your daddy's choice?
It was my dad's choice. He said, "What do you think about the Army?" I said, "I'll check it out then." And he was like, "Okay, cool," because we're going to the recruiter's office. And as soon as we went, I was like, sign me up. What can I do? And he gave me all my options. I took the test. He gave me all my options and said, I'll be an MP. I'll pick that one. Military police. And then that was almost immediately after the Atlanta trip. So
wow. Now, with the things that, what made you, we know, but what made you kind of go towards military police?
yeah, I don't know. It just sounded cooler at the time from what there was. I didn't want to be. Anybody can be infantry. The way my recruiter sold it was like, if you score such around this level, you can be cook, supply, infantry. Those guys will take you. I said, well, what's infantry? It was like, well, basically you'll be out in your boots on the ground. You're the foot soldier. I was like, that sounds cool, but what else you got? He was like, nah, I got S1, the administration, they had communications, commo, they call it. And then when he heard military police, I was like, what's that? And he was like, oh, this is when you basically a police officer in the Army. And I was like, that sounds like something I always wanted to be. Yeah. Law enforcement. And he's like, you interested in that? And I said, yeah, tell me about that. And he went into details about, the combat side of being a military police and then the garrison side of being a military police. And sometimes you work law enforcement.
So tell me, what's the garrison? I know combat. What's garrison? What is that term?
You see out here on the street, the in the on base, like in the main cantonment, driving the police car around. You got your vest on, you got your pistol belt on, and you in your little shiny car and your little shiny boots, and you just driving around doing law enforcement.
Gotcha.
The side is basically a infantry, but not in the position of an infantry. So we adopted all of the infantry doctrine, but we wasn't infantry.
Okay. And so where were you once you did go into the Army? Where were you first stationed?
My first station was Aberdeen Proving Grounds. I was in Maryland, about 20 minutes outside of Baltimore, up north. And that was my first time being out on my own. And making decisions on my own, making my own payments on stuff. And it didn't go too well. It didn't go too well. I received my first Article 15 there. Judicial. Yeah, I was administrative punished for I got in some trouble in Washington, D.C. because I was with a group of friends and we went down there and they was I don't want to get into that. We could. It's probably funny, but we went down
wherever you want to go.
We went down to a party, and I remember it was Rock and Littles. That was my road dog, me, Rock and Littles. And we went down there to Rock's girlfriend's party, and he got in an argument with some girls. And then they said, I'm gonna call some real ninjas on y'all. And we was like, oh, call your real ninjas. We got something for them real ninjas. And he had a pistol, and I'm on board. Yeah, call him. I grabbed his pistol and started shooting in there. Pow, pow, we got something for him. The real ninjas was the police. That's who they got.
Real.
Jail.
Yes, real.
Jail real fast. So yeah.
Okay.
We got arrested, and then that made it back to my commander, and she I was on extra duty for a long time for that one. And then I got in trouble with, that's where I met my first wife at the PX. Her friend gave me an unauthorized discount. That was back when PlayStation 2s was hot, and I went through there with a PlayStation 2 and an extra remote with some video games and a cable cord, and I bought all of that for like $4. And so
yes, sir.
They caught up to her because she was stealing money out of the register and decided they said, hey, we can lessen your load if you give us all the names that you made an unauthorized discount with. And my name was in.
Okay.
So got in trouble for that. So that duty station wasn't too good.
Okay.
But after that, that's when I met my first wife. We got married at the courthouse against my parents' will. You know, against everyone's will, but I was grown and you can't tell me what to do. I'm a grown man, you know,
Right.
and I'm gonna do it anyway. And then which was disrespectful to my dad. He a pastor. He wanted to marry all his kids off, you know,
Right.
not
Right.
being and went to the courthouse and the judge married us, and that was the worst 7 years.
Yeah.
7 years of my
Okay.
yeah. And then after that, after Aberdeen Proving Ground, we went to Germany for 5 years.
Mm.
And then that was interesting, just being a black man in Germany, because it's the temptation and all of that comes with that in Germany is
Okay.
real. Is real. The rumors you hear about Germany is real.
Okay. Okay.
But then that's when I deployed for the first time to Iraq. That was a 15-month deployment. And I met a nice. My unit was real tight. It was a good unit. We deployed. Went seen some stuff. We was involved with a lot of things once in that deployment, but we made it out. You
Okay.
know, got back to Germany with PCS from there. Went to Fort Stewart, Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
where I was back in another rotation to go back to Iraq.
Okay.
Went to Iraq for 12 months after that, and then that's when I found out that my ex-wife there was some infidelity going on. When I got back, we ended up getting arrested in Fort Stewart in Hinesville because and it was on my birthday.
Oh, wow.
Found out that the infidelity was going on, so I threatened to kill her because that was my plan. I told her kiss my little daughter goodbye, and I'm gonna kill you. So she grabbed my daughter, locked the bedroom door, locked the bathroom door, got in the tub, called the police.
Okay.
I ended up getting arrested again there. And what happened after that? Yeah, got arrested there. Ended up going to court. Going to court after that, and the judge ended up dismissing the case. He ended up he held it over my head. They call it dead docketing for a year. He held it over my head for a year. So if I stay out of trouble, then it'll go away in a year. And I was like, okay. So at that time, I want to say I was kind of almost at the half of my military career. So I knew that I wanted to stay in for a long time. Yeah, at least to retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my goal. I prayed, like, help me stay out of trouble because I don't put on my own. At that time I was involved with drinking and smoking and partying and all that stuff, and the trouble is, in the horizon if you're involved with all that.
Right.
But I managed to stay out of trouble for a year, and then after that year passed, the case was dismissed, and then that's when I filed for a divorce. And then she ended up getting arrested because she started doing weird stuff.
Okay.
After that, that divorce was final. Well, me and Kel met before that divorce was final. We started seeing.
Let me slow you down. I want to go back a little.
Okay.
And you were talking about, because you said you were in Maryland and some other places, right? But because you talked about how alcohol and smoking and stuff was introduced earlier in your life, did
Mm-hmm.
you at some point, did you see it as, did you recognize it as your coping mechanisms, your escapes, or did you just still think it was something to just have fun and, do whatever whenever. How did you see alcohol and all that during those years?
At that time, I thought it was just something to do. It was fun. I love to do it, and I'm gonna do it. And then I ain't got to worry about getting in trouble for doing it because I ain't nowhere near my parents. So it's a win-win. I like feeling. I never liked the marijuana part because it always made me sick.
Okay.
But alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
I was a drinker. Just bring it. Let's get drunk after work. Let's do it. And drink, smoke, party, go wherever we want to go and do whatever we want to do and drink some more. That's the thing.
Okay.
But that followed me. Like whenever I went somewhere, drinking went with me. it it did. I didn't realize it until it was an issue until after I met Kel.
Really? Okay. So you
I
just
think,
like, it's just what I do. It is
mhm,
what okay.
yeah, you want to be with me, you're gonna be with this alcohol too. You know, you know, and
Okay.
I smoke. That's just me. But
So even where, because you said there was one real good group of people that you got with one of your units
mhm,
that was really, really good. Even in that unit,
yeah,
there was nothing that said what I'm doing is off.
no, because they was doing it too.
Okay.
At
Y'all
the
were
time.
just tight and doing it together.
Yeah, we're a unit, we're a group. If we're gonna do one thing, we all gonna do one thing, we're gonna do it to the fullest.
Okay.
Even when we got back, we all went out and did that thing. We drank and partied because alcohol. We found alcohol in Iraq in a deployment,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
which is a no go, but
Right.
some
Okay.
interpret better than the other.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Uh, yeah, that was just a part of my identity, as I would say. Now, that started tagging along with me wherever I went. That's where it went.
So
And
at that, you couldn't even see that in those inebriated states, there were other things attached. Like I said, like because alcohol itself is a depressant.
mhm,
Um, and so you weren't able, I guess you didn't have the spiritual awareness at that time, maybe, to even realize that there were other things attached.
no,
Okay.
I I knew that my uncle died of alcoholism.
Mhm.
He drank himself to death. Yeah, I think he died at 30, 30, late 30s.
Mhm.
And he could sing real good. Everybody said he sounded better than Sam Cooke. Uh,
Really?
but it was a struggle. The alcohol on my dad's side,
Mhm.
cigarette addiction on my mom's side.
Okay.
And I knew that side was the alcoholics. This side was my mom's side was the smokers. So I
Mhm.
knew it ran in the family. I just never tied it together with me
Gotcha.
or spiritualized it
Right.
because I was far from walking as a Christian, at the time.
Okay.
Uh, wasn't until I met Kale and then we started, because when we met, I was still smoking and drinking, you
Mhm.
know, like she was drinking her little drink with Patron. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's how we met, drinking and whatever. And she even bought me an ashtray as a
Oh,
gift. Um, but it wasn't until we went to Missouri and she was pregnant. No, she wasn't pregnant. She was holding um, our oldest child, Jakira, now.
okay.
And she always said, how I can tell you real drunk. Because there was a moment in time when she got pregnant with Jakira, and I'll go back to Georgia when we met. She couldn't do the drinking anymore,
Okay.
because she was pregnant. And here I am. I'm still going at it.
Mhm.
Uh, she had she had Jakira, and I thought that things were gonna go back to it where it was when we first met, drinking and partying and, you know, having fun, but no breastfeeding. So then that delayed it again. So then we moved to Missouri. I'm still drinking. She couldn't, you know, because still breastfeeding and all. And I'm mad because now I want our marriage to go back to where it was. Right. Yeah. In the beginning.
Right.
Then right after, I think she got pregnant again, and we had our first miscarriage. So that was another delay of my marriage getting back to where it was at the beginning. But then we had a miscarriage, and I think it was a lot of ball of emotions and everything was going on with that. And then she got pregnant again. But before, and this is when I realized that alcohol was an issue. And I thank God for leading us to the church that we was at. We was arguing one day. She was holding Jakira, and she was like, "You know how I can tell you always drunk?" I said, "How?" She was like, "Every time you get drunk, whenever you talk, your head move." Here I am trying to hold my head still. Like, what you mean? Every time I talk, my head move. Every time my head moves, my head don't be moving. And so that's when she realized that I was drunk, because I would say I was a functioning alcoholic. Like, I can do things. I was still attentive. I can do normal day-to-day activities. But influence, I smell like alcohol. We got in an argument, a huge argument one day, and she was holding Jakira, and I don't know if I said something that struck a nerve, but she hauled off and slapped me. And I said, "I ain't taking this. I'm slap you back." I tried to slap her back, ended up slapping Jakira. At the time, Jakira was small. And that about took me out. Because at that time, I think that's when life hit me. Almost like that slap was meant for my face, because at that time, that was the worst. I think that was the worst thing out of deployments, out of being, in the Army, being in the field, in the rain, in the snow, whatever, being on ranges and all that.
Right.
I daughter, because
thanks so much for joining us today. If you've been blessed by today's show, feel free to let us know. And if you'd like to sow into this ministry, become a sponsor, or contact us, you can reach us at 803-221-0169. Or you can email us at thessbbshow@gmail.com. Let's continue this journey together.